Hi there, and welcome to this Tepcos tutorial. This tutorial is the first one of a series in which we will show you how to set up a project in Tepcos. The first time that we use Tepcos, the project breakdown chart opens with only the portfolio element. We first close the help section to make a little bit more space. As you can see, the project menu is closed and displays the message that we must select a project. Since there is no project yet, our first step will be to create one. We click on the portfolio element to open the context menu and on the select option. The portfolio element is now selected. It has a red color because there is no project connected to it yet. And the project menu is coupled to the portfolio element, as you can see in the bar on the top of the project menu. When we expand the project menu by clicking on the small arrow in the menu bar, we see that only the project stakeholders option is available. The reason for this is that the portfolio element is not the real project element. It serves as the container that will hold all the projects in the system. The next step is now to enter the first project. We do this by clicking on the portfolio element again to open the context menu. The only options available are Add, which will add a new project to the system, and Import, which will allow us to import a template from the Tepcos archive. For now we click on Add and on New in the submenu to enter a new project. The Add New Project dialog box opens and we can enter here the first project information. You can enter here now whatever information that you have available. However, the only information that is really required at this moment is the name of the new project. So we give it the name My First Project. Before we click the OK button to add the project to the portfolio element, please note that as the start date for the project, the current date is entered. You can change this by clicking on the date field, which opens a calendar, but for the moment we leave it as it is, because we can always change that later. We click on OK and we can see the project now appear below the portfolio container in the project breakdown chart. Also, this project element is red, because no sub-elements such as results or sub-projects have been added yet. We want to work with our new project, so we select it by clicking on it and selecting the Project Select option in the context menu. We see in the top bar of the project menu that this menu is now coupled to the project. And the project element is now the only element in the project breakdown chart. When we expand the project menu, we see all the options in the project menu now. As a project manager, you need to understand the project before you can plan it. So we are now going to prepare the project by stepping through the project menu from top to bottom, starting with the understanding phase. We start by addressing the first two menu items in the high-level definition section: the challenge and the project requirements menu options. When we click on the challenge option, a dialog window opens with the tabs Challenge, Drivers for Change, Goals and Project Justification. The tab Challenge is already active. You start by clicking on the Edit tab, which opens an editor that allows you to enter the challenge as you have understood it. With challenge we mean a description of the problem that the project is supposed to solve or the opportunity that will be seized. When you are done, you repeat this procedure for also the other tabs. With the drivers for change we mean the circumstances or occurrences that cause the project to exist. For instance, when your project addresses an improvement of the service department, an increased number of customer complaints on the response time of your service department could be the driver for your project. In the Goals tab, you describe what you want to have achieved when the project will be finished. and in the tab Project Justification you describe what will be the benefits when the project is completed or the consequences when the project would not be completed. Before going to the next step in the project menu, the step Requirements, you need to make sure that the information that you just have entered is correct and complete. Of course, you could already enter the requirements as you see them, but the completeness needs to be verified with all relevant stakeholders. And you can only do that by consulting them before you can complete the requirements. The easiest way to consult them is by using Tepcos and giving them access to your project on their own computer and by letting them make changes or additions. However, before they can do this, you need to give them access to Tepcos. When you click on the first menu option in the project menu that is called Project Stakeholders, and you click on the tab Add a Stakeholder, you will notice that the drop-down list under the Name option only contains the system administrator. This is because this menu option only adds stakeholders to the selected project that are already known in Tepcos, and we have not introduced stakeholders to Tepcos yet. So we are going to do that now. We select the Add Users and Resources button in the System menu on top to register them in Tepcos. We have now three options. The first option is Human. In this step, you can enter stakeholders that have a real name, such as John Stevens. The second option is Generic. You can enter here stakeholders from which you do not know the name, but only their contribution or profession. Examples are architect, mechanic, or songwriter. Under the third Others option, you can enter all non-human resources, such as materials, equipment, services, etc., that you might need for completing your project. Since we need advice, we obviously select the first option. We click on the Add New option and we fill out the forms starting with the contact information. For this tutorial, we assume that we have a project sponsor with the name John Stevens and a team member with the name Peter Dawson. We fill out the name and the contact information and then we click on the tab Account. Here we must select the type of account that we want to give to them. We can choose between external, this is a person that can be planned but that has no access himself to Tepcos. We can select user, which means a person with access to Tepcos but with limited rights. And we can select project manager, which has full rights. For detailed information on these profiles, please refer to the Tepcos help website. Since we want the two men to give input via Tepcos, we give them the profile user and provide them with a username and password. Please note that by giving them the user profile, now also the tab Scheduling Information and Preferences becomes available. The tab User Preferences is used to set the time zone of the user. Under the tab Scheduling Information, we can set the working days and hours, the hourly rate, and the color that the person in question will get in the Gantt chart later. To speed up things, I have entered them already in the meantime, and they can now be allocated to the projects in the system. When we go back to the project menu, you can see that they are now available for the project. When we click on Add a Stakeholder to this project, a dialog box opens where we can now select the stakeholder and we can give him a role. Please note that the setting here of the working hours and working days will override the general settings that we gave the person when we registered him in Tepcos. Please also note that in the current version of Tepcos, all stakeholders will get reading and writing rights. So the two fields related to the rights are not operational yet. The two stakeholders can now access Tepcos and have access to the new project so that they can change and/or complement the text that you have entered for the detailed project description, and they can start entering their requirements. In this way, you create, together with all relevant stakeholders, a starting point for your project that is agreed and supported by the relevant people. This concludes the first tutorial on how to set up a project. In the next tutorial, we continue our journey through the project menu, starting with entering the requirements. I hope that you will join again. For now, thanks for watching.